Hey everybody, Vicki Fitch here, your direct sales expert, and I'm coming to you live from sunny Southern California. Guys, thanks so much for being here. So excited to have you. Today is a kind of a part two of a broadcast we did quite a while ago, but I'll tell you what I was inspired by. Hey, Rick, welcome to the broadcast. Queen, welcome. Monica, welcome to the broadcast again. Hit the share button. If you guys are my regular Perry Peeves Facebook fans, we are live streaming on 7 platforms. So be sure to hit the share button and let's chat about this. You know, it might sound like a kind of a mild topic. Hey, Cal, welcome to the broadcast, but it's really going to be a little bit more detailed because we're going to be talking about how it relates to the pandemic, how it relates to the governors, how it relates to people, and maybe the logic or lack of logic that's being delivered as things go by. So again, if you guys are my regular Facebook fans, my Perry Peeps, YouTubers, if you guys would pop your name in the chat box and say, hey, I'd appreciate it. Hey, Jonathan. Hey, Jatoro, welcome to the broadcast. Appreciate you guys. Melanie, Mark, Jim, I think that's it, Lisa. Welcome to the broadcast, guys. Again, appreciate you being here. All right, so let's dive in, and we're calling it COVID hair, don't care. Now, why are we calling it COVID hair, right? I mean, let's face it, a lot of COVID hair has been going on lately, and it's been really hot out, so I'm sticking my hair up a lot. But I was inspired by it because someone on YouTube who's not a regular follower and doesn't know that we had done the previous broadcast and what we really talk about, one of you guys was making fun of me, just teasing me because of the previous COVID hair broadcast and said, stop worrying about your hair or something. Now, I say that with a snarky tone. I don't know that she meant it snarky or she didn't, but it made me realize that sometimes, you know, people don't know what we're talking about. Whether we're posting on social media, whether we're having a conversation at the bank, at a mixer, it doesn't matter that they don't know what we're talking about. We get used to what we've already shared with others, and we forget that the people there, hey, Rosh, welcome to the broadcast. The people there don't necessarily know what we're talking about, what our lingo is or what's going on. And Facebook and Periscope, you know, our live streaming, we're a pretty fun tribe, right? We get together every day, we comment, we have some fun. And when other people don't get where we're coming from, it can be frustrating. So we want to give credence to that concept and idea when we talk about these other things. As you guys know, we've been talking, this show is called Step Up, Stand Out, and Speak. And the hashtag we're using is Stop Being Silent. There's a lot of silence going on about things, injustices, and things that are being ignored by the mainstream media, or being categorized as normal for other people. Hey, Frank, welcome. And the fact is that it's time for us to start talking about it. If it bothers you, you need to step up, stand out, and speak. We need to let people know this ain't so cool. Now, I've been getting monitored and censored on Facebook for quite a while now. Hey, Sultan, welcome to the broadcast. So many of you are probably seeing this as a replay because someone else is sharing. So again, do a girl a solid, hit the share button if you find value in the messages, because Facebook doesn't seem to want me to get the message out. You know, conservative voices are being kind of silenced. If you don't know that, if you're conservative, you may or may not have seen it. If you're not conservative, you may not have noticed, but I can guarantee you that the broadcast audience that we used to have is much larger. All of a sudden, it just started, you know, people are saying, I'm not getting the notifications. Nothing's happened. Hey, Element, welcome to the broadcast. And so, you know, things get a little tricky, but we're still going to keep doing the message. We're going to keep telling you what's happening. So this COVID hair thing, you know, what we're talking about is, you know, COVID hair, don't care. Well, let's dive a little deeper into Governor Newsom's. We're going to go with California. Many of you guys are experiencing similar things as well. Ernie, welcome to the broadcast, sweetie. Thanks for being here. Many of you are experiencing similar things in your states as well. I use my own state as an example because I'm more in tune to what's going on, because I'm, you know, reading the publications and stuff, and I can't really read them for everybody's state every day, but that's why I look to you guys to share with me what's happening. So yesterday, maybe the day before, I'm losing track of the days, could have been Friday, Governor Newsom, you know, he threw out the old plan, you know, because we've all been trying to hit the moving target, right? Put a 2 in the chat box if you know what I'm talking about. Like, first, we started out with the whole, you know, okay, we're trying to flatten the curve and we need everybody to kind of stay home and hunker down for 2 weeks, right? And, you know, it's been, what, 6 months, 5 months, 38 months? I don't even know how long it's been. But it turned from, you know, what we're trying to do is flatten the curve and make sure the hospitals weren't overrun, to now we're not doing anything unless it's a cure. Governor Newsom actually said, hey, Krishna, welcome to the broadcast, said he doesn't see us going back to normal. Like, what the heck does that mean? And what kind of leadership skill is that? You don't want to tell people they're never going back to normal. Like, that's just plain old scary, freaky, or whatever. Now, I mean, if he really believes that, I guess that's super sad, but I don't think that that's true. I think we do slightly adjust our new normal because we're more aware of what happened this time, and I think that more people would rebel against it and I say that in meaning not that they would be rioting and acting like crazy people, but not letting people take their freedoms away, because that's what's happened. Many states are not being, I don't know what I think Governor Newsom is a tyrant. I really do, and that's my own personal opinion, because his stuff doesn't make sense, and that's what we're going to talk about today. What he's doing doesn't make sense. So he threw out his old things. Like I said, it's hit the moving targets. Like, this is what we're trying to do. Oh, never mind. Now we're trying to do this. Oh, you can open if you do this. No, never mind. Now you can open if you do this. So it's kind of crazy. So I wanted to expose something that I think is really critical. Many of you know I actually happen to be a licensed manicurist. Now, I've never done it as a living, but I got my manicuring license when I was in high school. I actually graduated from high school early through the ROP program. But so I've had my license for a long time. And I can tell you, one of the things that you have to learn in cosmetology, because I did start out in cosmetology, I adjusted course to go to manicuring because I wanted to graduate faster. I didn't want 1,600 hours. 350 hours was enough for me. But the steps you have to go through and learning about hygiene and learning about sanitation is a huge part of your state board exam. You have to make sure every comb is clean. And if it touches the floor, you got to do this. And the same thing with nail files. And if you're not using nail files that actually can be cleaned, then you have to actually replace them or give them to the client. So there's, sanitation is a big deal. And so part of COVID and the whole reason that they are doing different things with COVID is because of sanitation, making sure that the germs aren't spreading. So why? And again, we need to talk about this. Like, why do you allow places to open that have no sanitation experience, but the people that actually are trained in sanitation don't get to open? I mean, that's just one, like, if you guys have an answer, I'd love to put that down there, because most businesses, most companies are not required to learn about sanitation as part of getting a license in order to practice that activity. So it makes no sense to me of why that particular thing would have been, would have been cut loose. So then when they did open salons and then immediately withdrew them, right? What's happening there? And then say, oh, okay, you can do it outdoors. Now, if you've ever had your hair cut, the wind blowing while somebody's cutting your hair, and all of a sudden your hair looks like a jigsaw puzzle. It makes no sense, right? Follow the money, Jay. Exactly, right? Follow the money. It makes no sense. And that's where we talk about why we have to step up, stand out, and speak. Because I'm a supporter. When this first thing happened, I locked my family down so fast it'll make your head spin. I was like, nope, we ain't going anywhere. We got enough food here. Let's figure out what's going on and let's let this blow over, or figure out how serious it is. I mean, I locked these people down so tight. My kids were like, Mom, you're stressing me out. And when we finally did need to go get food, I participated in the Sam's Club. They had a pickup, a concierge service where they'd bring it to the car. And then I'd wipe everything down. Hey, Sarah, welcome. I'd wipe everything down before we brought it in the house. Mail, I'd wipe every piece of mail off. I used gloves. True story. Like, I'm not a freak about germs, but I do have a compromised immune system. And I was listening to the media. I was listening to what's happening. And again, because of my training in manicuring and stuff, I do understand sanitation, and I do understand some of the ways and the protocols used to make sure that we stay safe. So if you guys are just joining the broadcast again, please hit the share button. And if you're my regular Perry Peeps and Facebook fans, I thank you for being here. If you guys are new, feel free to kick back and relax. But I'd love for you to drop your name in the chat so we can converse and I can know you're here. And I hope you'll do me a solid and give me a follow if you're finding value in the broadcast. So as we look at what's going on there and say, okay, we're closing down, we're going to, again, flatten the curve. We're going to do this. Hey, Larry, welcome. We're going to flatten the curve. We got to do this. We got to do this. And everybody's saying, okay, all right, let's figure out where we're at. Hey, Irv, welcome. That we're going to figure where we're at. Okay. All right. We got there. Now we know. And then as we look, these numbers that are spiking up and down. And I mean, can I have a 4 in the chat box if you guys saw the new CDC update? A 4 in the chat box. And if you didn't, I don't know if I shared it yet or if I just put it in my Step Up, Stand Out, and Speak folder on Facebook. But 96% of all COVID cases have 2 or more major underlying conditions. Okay. Thanks, Cyril. 2 or more major underlying conditions. Okay. So, hey, Ernie, thanks. And so think about that for a minute. We're not talking about somebody that, had a skin knee. You're talking about somebody that had major underlying condition. Hey, Herb, welcome. That there's a issue with like they had cancer or something. If you got cancer and then COVID is in the air or you catch COVID, that can be a factor. But did you really die of COVID? Now, and I mean, I get this is a 6 of one, half dozen of the other in some circumstances, but I'm going to give you some really whack job stuff that we can kind of really process and make it so it's really clear, right? So, did cancer kill them? I mean, they were already dying and maybe they were on hospice and then they caught COVID and we're calling it a COVID death. It's like, maybe COVID pushed it along a little further because their immune system's already compromised and they were struggling. But is COVID really the culprit? I mean, it's kind of like, is the flu the culprit? And when, in cancer, when cancer patients dying and they catch the flu, do we call it the flu or do we say they died of cancer? Now, I'd like you to drop a name in the chat. Is that flu or is that cancer? If a cancer patient catches the flu, do we say they died of the flu or of cancer when it comes to B? Because, I'm not a doctor and I'm not a nurse, but I'm fairly certain they call it complications of cancer, right? So they don't call it complications of the flu because cancer is not a complication of the flu, right? Cancer is oftentimes, unfortunately, a terminal illness. Now, not always, right? Some say only 6% were truly COVID related, right? Well, that's what they're saying. 96% had the 2%. But I know this famous one you probably all heard. Put a 5 in the chat box if you heard about the guy who was decapitated and they marked him as COVID. He died of COVID. Okay, he had COVID. He tested COVID. But let's face it, decapitation is not a complication of something else. That's death. There's no surviving decapitation that I'm aware of. I mean, is anybody else aware of that? Because I've not heard it. I think the only person that might have been able to pull that off was Jesus, because he did put someone's ear back on. And so I'm sure he could have pulled that off too. Hey, 9630, welcome to the broadcast. Okay, Ciro said that. Larry says, yep. So, we have to okay, when the logic goes out the window, then we have to really get our investigative reporter on and say, what in the world is happening? So here, when we go back, like I said, to COVID hair, don't care, we go back to the COVID things and people are making fun of, hey, 9630, welcome to the broadcast. And again, if you guys haven't hit the share button, please hit the share button for me. Again, only if you're finding value. So we look at these things and say, okay, hairdressers are non-essential. Well, okay, I'm not going to tell you that getting my hair done is essential, right? For me, I'm a live streamer, and so I do have a daily presence on the air. So it's important to me. I'm not that, like you guys can see, I'm not that proud. Throw up I'm the queen of the messy bun lately. But the point is that we should be adjusting things based on training and safety. If this is really about our health, shouldn't we be making those choices based on safety? And, shouldn't we be making them on people that are trained? And since hairdressers literally, and like I said, I can say this from personal experience, if I went to cosmetology school, I did switch over to manicuring, but both of them require extensive knowledge in sanitization practices. I mean, extensive. Like this is a whole section on the exam is about sanitation and how you can't use things and what things happen, etc. Question, are hospitals getting more money if they inflate numbers? They are, Ciro, and we all know that. They are getting more money. And we've even seen exposés where hospitals have said that they're doing this. A friend of ours is a nurse in a hospital and told us they are required when a person checks into the hospital to call them COVID positive even before the results come back. Every person comes in as positive. It's their responsibility at the end of the day to try and remember which patients weren't positive and go back and change the actual classification. So we know, certainly here in California, because this is happening here and it's a personal friend, and actually we heard it from 2 people, that's there's no way you're getting 100% and going back. And he even said, we're so tired at the end of the night. We're exhausted. We've been working 12-hour shifts. Sometimes we're exhausted. We're not getting there. And the reports, these things, they get reported in, and then it's too late to change. And the files just stay the same because we got another 38 people and we're doing all this stuff. So we have a system that's broken in reporting for sure. We know the reporting is broken because we've had it reported. Oh, yeah. Oh, we screwed up on those. Oh, we messed up on those. And now the CDC, again, not the mainstream media announcing it. Holy crap, this is so exciting. Only, 94% of the cases really had underlying conditions. This is way less from the statistics deadly than the flu. I know that's not popular with some of you guys, but it's statistics. It's the numbers. It's not me. So if it's way less, why are we putting kids in plastic cages and sticking masks on them? Why do we have criteria that says that kids will be disciplined 7 times in a row and activities taken away from them if they touch their mask or take it off? I mean, when I saw this, I thought, are we freaking kidding ourselves? I mean, honestly, I get safety. I told you, I locked my family down so fast it made their head spin. I got a 20, he was 23 and 17 at the time, and they didn't like it. But I was like, oh no, I'm keeping my family safe. You are staying in the house, right? And they honored that request because they want to be safe too. But now we can see this is not working. That giraffe is far too suggestive for my liking. Okie dokie. All right. Institutional child abuse. Irv, I cannot disagree with you. I don't know what in the world is going on when we think we put kids in plastic cages. When the data shows, I believe, I can't even get enough decimals to identify how many kids that are in elementary school are dying from the disease. It's like 0.00000. I mean, it's maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you get the point. This doesn't make sense. All right, let me go over here. Motorcycle crashes, cause of death, die of COVID. Right. That's what I'm saying, Larry. I mean, come on. It's like, guys, this is ridiculous. If he had COVID and he's decapitated, he didn't die of COVID. He died of decapitation. He may have had COVID, but he was decapitated. Ernie said no, $39,000 when you list COVID. It's just, okay, I appreciate the fact that they get more money for that because they're probably paying the employees more. Thanks, Mel. They're paying employees more. They're working harder shifts. I don't know if they are or aren't, but I heard they were getting like combat pay type things where they're getting more money because they're putting themselves in the line of fire. So, it should get some more money, but it should not be like this. This is a joke. And then finding out from other people that respirators were not a good idea. And when you read some of the other stuff, if you're watching, put a 6 in the chat box if you're watching the press briefings by Kayleigh McNamee. I don't know if I said her last name right. She's the press secretary for President Trump. She's done some really good things to sharing about, hold on, hydrochloroquine and these other things and the remdesivir and all the stuff that they found as things as preventative. They found the things that are helping right away, without vaccines, and they're working towards those things. I mean, there's been a heavy focus on trying to take care of things without a vaccine. There seems to be some very odd pressure for the vaccine from some very interesting people. Now, I'm not getting into that because I haven't dug deep enough into it myself. But, the information there is pretty damning. Let's see. Hi, Mohammed. Welcome to the broadcast. Kara said Italy found all cases had comorbidity, but that is also ignored, as is everything related to actual health practices that will reduce those many controllable issues. Gotcha. About 1 in 10 briefings you see, Irv. So when we look at this data and we look at this information and say, okay, like I said, I'm going to go back to the title of the broadcast, COVID hair, don't care. People say, oh, it doesn't, hairdressing is non-essential. I get it. Again, I'm not going to put, hair, getting my hair done or my nails done, even though I am a public figure and I do a broadcast, in an essential category. Okay. But it is essential to hairdressers. I mean, let's be honest. So I know lots of hairdressers that are struggling. Some can't make their house payment. Some didn't get their stuff in for their unemployment. They couldn't get the PPP loans. They're still waiting and they have no income for 7 months. They're behind in their mortgage payments. They're stressed out that their kid, they're overwhelmed. Like, I have chills right now because I'm so sad and I'm frustrated about it because it doesn't make sense. Now, these are people, again, that are trained in in sanitation. We have to do that sanitation. And for those of you who are just joining the broadcast, I am a licensed manicurist. I have been since I was 18 years old. And part of your state board exams in manicuring and cosmetology is sanitation. So why is it that we couldn't do this? Why can't we do this? And why is it that there's so many other places that are considered essential that, again, we essentialize things without regard for how it's affecting other people. When we thought that it might be like typhoid Mary walking around and everybody that you walk by is going to start foaming out of the mouth and dying, different story. We've pretty much proved that isn't true just with the protests and the riots. None of those people started passing out dying on the streets. So we have a pretty good indication that it's not that kind of transmission, right? Hey, Randall, welcome to the broadcast. Randak, Mary, I didn't see the other one, started with an S. Welcome to the broadcast. And so we got to step up, stand out and speak. We got to say something and say, okay, Governor Newsom, so he let hairdressers back open, but not manicurists. Now, they're both trained in sanitation. Manicurists can go outside. So we can have hair blowing and we try and cut it. We got manicuring. Why? I mean, just someone help me with why. Where's the logic on why a manicurist cannot do someone's nails? Again, the woman that's going to lose her home, that might be doing that to feed her children, and now she's supposed to try and find a way to do it outside. What if it's raining or snowing? What does that mean? What does outside mean? Can she do it on a covered patio in her own house with things that are dropped down? And if so, why can't she do it in a building? It makes no sense. I mean, it's the lunacy of it all, of trying to pick and choose how we're going to apply the law, is mind-boggling at best. Larry says COVID thing is getting weaker now into the rioting and looting, then onto mail-in ballot scam agendas like a bad movie. And did you hear that they're starting another impeachment process today on President Trump? I think that's what I read. It's like, what? Is that old news? No, it's new news. Again, logic says something underlying is going on here. It goes from one thing to the next. We're never actually dealing, or at least, and I'm going to use the word Dems, but not because I believe all Democrats are in on it, but the majority of people in high-ranking public offices, like the Democratic governors and Nancy Pelosi, they've got some weird agenda. I mean, we all have to admit there's an agenda going on because it doesn't make any sense. The logic has completely left the building, and so we need to figure it out. Crack the door open, stupid crazy, right, Larry? I mean, what? Who is making this stuff up? And then Newsom, like I said, he took the guidelines we had, and I don't know if you guys know this, he completely threw them out. Now we're a color-coded system, and he's given us color-coded maps. Like, we had to spend the time, energy, and money on color-coding something different, and now purple is, you can't open, and pink, you can, partly open if you do this, and it's like, I'm dizzy looking at the freaking charts. And I feel like it's just one more reason to confuse people on what's happening. Hairdressers are trained in sanitation, period. Manicurists are trained in sanitation, period. How many occupations do you know of that are not trained in sanitation? Because, this might not apply, or you guys might not feel like it applies, but I just want to ask this because, maybe it's just my own ignorance here. So we're keeping childcare open for essential workers, but not for not essential workers. So it's safe if their parents are essential, but it's not safe if their parents aren't essential. Help me with this. Is there a difference? It's either you can do it or you can't. Why is it that you can have a childcare? We're not picking childcares. We're not saying this childcare is open for anyone because they pass standards. We're saying childcare is essential as long as you are an essential worker. But if you're not an essential worker, you don't get any childcare. So if you're now working from home, you're not essential. So you have to have your kid in tow while you're trying to work from home and trying to make a living because you're not essential enough to bring them to the daycare, which might actually make the daycare go under because the daycare needs to survive too. I don't get it. It is moronic. Thank you, Ciro. The whole government is corrupt. I want to hope that that's not true. I mean, I put a 7 in the chat box if you guys watch the DNC, and an 8 if you watch the RNC. Okay, or 9 if you watched them both. Right? 7 DNC, 8 RNC, 9 if you watch them both. I didn't read that. You're reading too much news. I don't, because I don't do coherent too well. I hear you, right? I'm doing it because I need to stay up on it so we can converse about it. Do what you need to do to get your business done, right? So I know it's crazy. And so now I'm part of okay, Ciro, you watch the RNC. I'm related to people. Welcome to the broadcast. Melanie watched the RNC. I thought the RNC was fantastic. Like, I watched them for years, and they're informative, and I'm usually doing other things. I thought the RNC was fantastic this year. I mean, I felt like it was informative. I felt like it was direct. I felt like it told us where President Trump has been, where he's continuing to go, and what he's doing right now, because the current climate is that he's doing a horrible job. COVID is his fault. The unemployment is his fault. I mean, it's like, this is just nutty McNuts is what it is. Like, we're going to blame a global pandemic on him. Like, he went out and released the dang virus. I mean, I think he's done a great job. And many of you know, I was not a fan of President Trump's way back in the day. But if you related, okay, I'm related, watched them both. If you watched the DNC, it was like a Mean Girls conference. I mean, I don't even know how to explain it. I was thinking, this is the most immature thing that I've seen. They've got people that are not really applicable. Like, what was that singer's name? You guys remember? What's her name? She's 19, I think. She looks so somber and depressed. I mean, it's like, okay, I mean, what's her point? I mean, if she was going to say, hey, I was depressed and this healthcare program inspired me or something, I didn't get it. I didn't get most of their things. And then I see Hillary come out, and I didn't get that hairdo either. I thought that was really inauthentic, because that's just not who she is. I mean, maybe that's what she wants, but it was like, really? Because it just didn't seem like her, right? It seemed weird and staged, and then their dramatic pauses and say, well, we need you to get out and vote, because you can win by 3 million people and still lose the election. Take it from me. It was like a bad beef flick commercial. I just like, what? What's the platform? What are you running on? Inspire me. I was inspired by the RNC. I was inspired by the people. I was inspired by their inspiration for the country and for the president. I was inspired by the previous Democrats that were hardcore Democrats saying, this is the reason I'm switching parties. I was inspired that 4 major city governors, I believe, that were Democrats just switched political parties, because I believe the RNC was inspiring. That's what this nation needs. We need inspiration. We need motivation. We need hope. We need courage. We need focus. And listening to people complain about someone else and tell you, poor me, I didn't win. I'm not saying, even if it was, there was what was that? That's not what you do for a convention, to try and inspire a nation. If that's the approach you're going to take to running this country, holy Toledo, we are in trouble. I don't like them talking crap about the other party. I don't either. I'm related, but I do feel, and this, correct me if you guys think I'm wrong, but I do feel that because the media it really is biased. I don't think we can, if you watch any of the coverage directly versus getting the sound bites from the media, I think everybody has to admit that the media is biased. I mean, they beat President Trump up no matter what he does, whether you like him or not. It's like, there's still fair. There's fair and there's not fair, and they just beat him up on everything. And so, they're beating him up, and the media is not covering it. So I think he had to seed plant that stuff isn't true without saying every time, it's not true. What they're saying is not true. It's not true. He just had other people come in and represent. And I thought that was a very elegant way of doing it. And I thought it was very effective, because you do have to do something. You don't have to sling mud, but you do have to do something. Let's see. It was the hate show from the clips. It was Zero. It was like a Mean Girls conference. I'm telling you, I was like, what even the guys and the girls, and it was, and did you, I mean, I don't know. I didn't do all the research, but put a 10 in the chat box if you saw the thing that they said Joe Biden's speech was filmed, that it was filmed and cut up, because part of it he's wearing his lapel pin, the other part he isn't. Sometimes he has the watch on, sometimes he doesn't. And so, which I didn't do any research on that, but I did see, the things putting together. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, you would think that someone wouldn't be that careless. But then we've seen it in major motion pictures before too, where like, they've done stuff and you're like, oh wait, that was, a minute ago the tie was off, now it's on, kind of thing. So we know that can sometimes happen, but we have to be careful what's going on here. And when our best interests are not at heart, we really have to dissect what's happening. And when you take away a business and you've demolished an entire industry, certainly here in California, you've demolished the hairdressers and the manicurists. I mean, they're so desperate to open up. I mean, the Underground Railroad is going on right now. So is the underground restaurants. Like, I'm in the backseat trying to find out what restaurants are really open, because this is nuts. It's nuts. BS show, no clue squad. Yeah, Larry, I agree. The Bible says to be loving to all. I agree. I'm related, but I'm not sure what that means. Absolutely, we should be loving to all. That doesn't mean we don't call each other. The Bible also says we're to be fruit inspectors. It doesn't exactly say it that way, but we're to inspect the fruit. We're not to judge, but we are to inspect, and we can recognize, that ain't no sheep. That what they're saying is not authentic, or it's not real, because it doesn't make any sense. And if they're an elected official and they don't make sense, we got to try and bring it to their attention. Like here in California, again, I bring this up because it's so ludicrous. You're allowed to protest with no masks on. You're allowed to yell and scream in an officer's face. You're allowed to loot and still be released from prison. But you will go to jail, or you can go to jail, if you sing in church, even with a mask on. I mean, help me understand that. I can go up to you in a protest and scream at you with no mask on, let my spit and my spittle fly all over you. But if I sing in church even with my mask on, there can be $1,000 fine. That's just control. I mean, there's no other way to put it. That's just control. It makes zero sense. None. So if I call that a peaceful protest, I am peacefully protesting your decision that I cannot sing in church. You can't do anything to me. Or you can, but then I guess I can fight it. I mean, it's nuts. That's what I'm saying. When logic takes a vacation, we've really got to figure out what's going on. Let's see. We need political parties to go away. I don't think we need them to go away. I think we need them to step up and be real and honest and full of integrity. And honestly, I know President Trump has a past that's not so pretty, but I mean, don't we all have something maybe in our past we're not too proud of? Maybe not as public as his, but I got stuff I'm not so proud of. I mean, not anything that would probably make national headline news, but do we really want to judge them on their character from a decade or 2 decades or 3 decades ago? Or do we want to judge them on the content of their character now? And what I've seen from him now is he's doing everything he can to help the American people. I mean, he's using all his skills and his business skills, and he doesn't even take a salary. He donates a salary. I mean, I don't know. I see things a little bit differently. Nancy asks us to go to Chinatown, calling President Trump an alarmist, right? When he stopped the Chinese from coming. And now they're trying to flip that around on him again. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Instead of saying, like, even though you're on different sides of the spectrum, the Democrats and the Republicans, Nancy Pelosi made a mistake, right? I mean, maybe she did it on purpose. I don't know. But telling everybody to come down to Chinatown and he's an alarmist. When it happened, came to find out that it really was a big deal, or at least we thought it was a big deal. Now we're recognizing, I don't know how much of a big deal it was, but I mean, people were still getting sick, but we were overreacting, it seems, in terms of the care, or at least that's what some of the things say. And so when she should have said, you know what, I still disagree with President Trump, but I think he made a good decision here and it has protected American lives. But that's what a mature adult does, not an immature, mean girl child that's trying to take over the party and take over the world. I don't know. I mean, I still think Governor Newsom would sell off California, and so he could, beat its own country and be a king. If New Jersey Restaurant Association told the government that they are going to open up September 8th, so the governor will now open on this Friday at 25%. Wait, in New Jersey, Restaurant Association told the government they are going to open on September 8th. Gotcha. So the government now will open on this Friday at 25%. So are you saying the government said the restaurants can open or not? I'm not sure what that meant exactly, Cyril. But that's, like I said, that's what we got to look at, people. We have to decide what we believe. And then we have to step up, stand out, and speak about what doesn't make sense. And like I said, I'm asking questions. I want to know. If you guys have a different opinion, all of you know, feel free to drop the opinions here, because we want to talk. I want to talk because maybe I'm missing something. But I'm glad that some of you are listening, just in case I'm not missing something, because we want to have open conversation. And like I said, I've been censored on Facebook. I don't know if you guys recognize this or not, but my reach has been limited. Like, if you look at the numbers, they used to be here, now they're right here. They've cut me off several times from having any activity on Facebook for no apparent reason. I can't figure out why. They don't tell me. They just say suspicious activity. It's like, what activity would that be? They are open with the government's okay. I don't know what the question marks mean. I'm related. Basically, they were going to open regardless of the rules. Yeah, well, that's what our churches did here, and we actually sued. The churches sued Governor Newsom for the ridiculousness of his rule. Like, you can't sing in church. I mean, again, help me with that. Tell me why that's not okay. You can't even sing with a mask on, but you can scream and yell and spit on people, and you're not in trouble. It's mind blown, right? Defund politicians who want to defund police. I'm with you there, Irv. I'm totally with you there. I think the politicians shouldn't be getting paid when they want to leave while they're trying to figure out this whole thing on unemployment and stuff. I mean, what a childish thing. And now we're trying to pretend that it's the US Postal Service. Did you guys see the US Postal Inspector? I think that's his name, Inspector General, whatever his name is, saying, I already had this plan. This had nothing to do with him. It had nothing to do with anything else. We were doing this for cost-cutting reasons. I mean, they're making mountains out of every molehill to try and keep us distracted from what the real thing going on here is. I haven't even quite figured out 100% what it is, except for what I think it was Larry said: follow the money. Follow the money. Follow the money, and let's figure out what happened with the $1 billion mask deal with Gavin Newsom, because that still seems to be eluding the press. I mean, here we are. It's September tomorrow. What's the deal with the masks? Where's the $1 billion? What happened? And do you guys know that he didn't pay his taxes, property taxes? He didn't take the 10% cut in his pay. I mean, there's things going on. I'm sure other governors have the same kind of stuff going on, but we got to step out, stand up, stand out, and speak. People, stop being silent. Ask questions. You don't have to be mad. You don't have to get agitated or attack. We do need to ask the questions, though. No college parties, but they can attend 1,000 people on campus at a BLM, right? Boom, right? I'm related. It's like, oh, but that's okay. And our governor here, the mayor of LA said you can't touch the dry sand, only the wet. Now I want you to process that for a minute. You can't stand on the dry sand, only on the wet. So I suppose if you're an Olympic gymnast, you might find a section of the beach where you could run as far as possible and leap over and get to the dry sand. I mean, I get what he's saying is that it doesn't want you parking yourself on the beach, because COVID can travel now. It only could travel 6 feet. Now it can travel infinitely in the air. I mean, I don't know. It's just pointless to have this conversation. He also told people that he thought the police were murderers, and then the police got on one of the actual radio shows and says, "I think that he's lost it. I think you guys need to take him out of office." This is Garcetti. You need to take him out of office. And by the way, Mr. Garcetti, if you think we're all killers, then maybe you should give up your 24-hour protection detail that is assigned to you. Like, people have gone wacky nutty, right? There's, like I said, there's definitely something going on. It is not about our health anymore. I think for some people, it definitely was in the beginning. It is no longer about our health. It's nuts. Governors and mayors who keep businesses closed should get 0 until all businesses are open, or at least letting them open. And you guys know too, because I'm really up on Governor Newsom. He left his wineries open while the other wineries shut down. He said, well, that county is open. It's like his winery is Plump Jack Winery. If you guys don't know, the mayor of Portland needs to go. The mayor of Portland's got some serious issues. But like I said, what is going on with these people? they were elected, I don't know how, maybe with the promise of all this free money that's floating around, but free money isn't free, people, and your taxes are going up if it's a Biden ticket wins. Garcetti hasn't lost it. He never had it. I agree with you, Irv. I agree. And guys, we got to talk about this tomorrow because I got to go today. But are we really suggesting that Biden has not lost some of his faculties? I'm not trying to be mean. And I know you guys know I'm not criticizing the man. You either have your faculties or you don't. Nancy Pelosi, I think she's a little touched myself, but some of the things she says are so obscure and so ridiculous, and she acts like they're normal. I guess maybe she's used to people just following suit. But to say, I don't think there should be any debates because President Trump is not going to, treat the office with decorum. It's like, oh, please. No, everyone knows that's an excuse because Joe is not going to be able to handle a debate. I'm not trying to be mean, but are we kidding ourselves to think it's okay to leave a man in charge who's not 100% there? If you Google him, the first thing that comes up on Wikipedia, or at least when I did it, was that he had a stroke and that having episodes like this will be something that's part of what happens. So the man's I think he had 2 strokes. I don't know. One of them was a very long time ago, or an aneurysm. And I'll get the details before we do that show. But come on, we know this is coming, and now we're trying to pretend it isn't here. And Kamala Harris, you basically call him a racist, suggest that you believe he's a rapist, and then say, I thought we were just debating. It was a debate. That's literally what she said, if you guys didn't see it, when people questioned her on it. It was a debate. Like, I'm a liar when I'm debating, but it's over now. So we put that behind us. I never believed that anyway. What the heck? How can we have that as the vice president? And certainly, how can we have that as gonna obviously be the president? So have we lost our minds? I mean, I'm just being honest. Like, I've never been so passionate about a Democratic versus Republican debate because it really doesn't have anything to do with the parties. It has to do with the people running the parties that seem to have lost their way. Because I always called myself a Demopublican when I was a kid, because I believed that there was a lot of Democratic policies that were, fulfilling to people and holding that I didn't see with the Republican Party. But I see that I see it differently now. And I am definitely a Republican, but I have a heart that is always for the people. And I think Donald Trump has a heart for the people. I think look what he's doing now with trying to make sure, and besides just the economy, if you watched the RNC, you saw some of those people, how he's helping those housing districts, how he's making sure that money is getting poured into those areas that are being left by businesses because they're afraid of what's happening. I mean, let's face it, lots of businesses are leaving now because of this insane looting. I mean, are they just trying to get people out? I don't know, but it's gone way beyond what it should have. So anyway, COVID hair don't care. I'd love to know why in the world that people that actually have training in sanitation cannot do people's hair, and now why the hair can be done, at least for today. At least that's what I understood by the purple zone with the pink and the highlight of the yellow and the orange. If you look at his new chart. But manicurists, by the way, even though you took the same training, no, you don't count. You have to still go outside or not do it at all. So we're putting people out of business. We're making them a slave to funding from the state and federal governments because they cannot practice their own craft, even though they've been trained. Thanks for this. You're welcome, Ciro. I'm terrified to give Biden a nuclear button when he doesn't know where he is, when he is, or who he is. Amen to that, brother. Okay, guys, I will see you tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Not sure what our topic is, but feel free to message me if you guys have something you want to talk about specifically. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I want to remind you, like I always do, to dream it, believe it, and achieve it. And stop being silent. See you later, guys.